Hello, my little Liebfrau Milches, and welcome to another Friday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine, and joining me is my merry band, sometimes not necessarily too merry, but they're here by my side to talk about this weekend's, well, it's not really even the weekends, it's Monday's Cleveland Browns football game. And of course, there's a chat room that's attached to this over on ZooTube. And today is the Brown State of the Union program. So we are a quarter of the way through the season. And because we have so darn much show activity, Monday, we're doing a pregame show where we'll do our predictions, on Monday. We have a halftime show. We have a post-game show. I figured we'd do something a little different today. Hello, Kawaki. How you doing? Figured we would do a little State of the Union address. We're a quarter of the way through the season. And Peter, how you doing? Moo, you sound subdued today. Yeah, I feel like I lack some kind of critical energy. I don't know. No, I'm fine. Should I do this, Peter? Should I do? Hi, everybody, it's me, Mr. At a big and I can do that. But you see, I'm getting an MRI on Monday about this whole thing that's been giving me grief. Might be a thoracic spine issue, and we got to see if I herniated a disc in my thoracic spine playing tennis. So that's why I'm kind of keeping things a little chill these days without getting too overly animated. As I was saying, it's a quarter point of the season, and I always have done commentary from this perspective that
usually from an 0-4, 1-3.
That's right. Where are we? And I always say to people, I don't want to talk about a prediction for the Browns season until I get a quarter of the way through the season. Here's what we know. All right. What we know is we are coming into the season with a new offense, new offensive coordinator, and some new offensive line people. And that we didn't play these guys very much in preseason. And it really showed in the beginning of the year. It really did. And not in a good way. We're sitting at 2-2. Now, I told you if we were 0-4 or 1-3 at the quarter poll, I would be quite negative about what the chances are for this team moving forward. Now we're kind of in what we call the nether regions. You like to have a little safety net under you, and if you're like 3-1, had we actually shown up for the Tennessee game, or had we actually not made the Rams defense look as good as we made it look based upon what we saw yesterday. I guess I'd feel better at 3-1 than 2-2, just simply because, there's going to be a game where we let down and play lousy during the course of the rest of the season. And you like to have that safety net, around you. And we also know that we've got games like New England and teams that we've got to play who are very good. We've got our divisionals. We got the Steelers and the Bengals. Got the Steelers twice, the Bengals twice, the Ravens once more. So, it's nice to have a little bit of a comfort zone. But there are some things that we did know, some things that we guessed or surmised, and then there are things that we had no idea of. What we knew. Oh, geez, we have OBJ and we have a better receiving core than what we had last year. What we surmised is that the offensive line was not as strong with the loss of Zeitler. And what we had no idea of was Steve Wilks is a defensive coordinator, and being able to overcome the loss of Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams, which we had no idea that for successive games, the Browns' unknown secondary would put a clamp down on the opposition. So there's a lot that we kind of surmised. And then there were the things that we hoped would be true, but we weren't sure. Like, you saw Todd Gurley playing, all right? And he was the greatest thing since, fresh bread a couple of years ago. And it's been, he's been largely forgotten about because a series of injuries has robbed him of a certain explosiveness. And the fact that he went to the same college as Nick Chubb. And you sit back and you say, well, gosh, was Chubb maybe a one-year flash in the pan? And then you saw at the beginning of the year, he wasn't getting the ball often enough. And it was like, what's going on here? And now we see that, he really is the real deal. And that makes us feel better. The loss of Duke Johnson hasn't really affected the Browns because we're really not utilizing any other running backs very much in the great scheme of things. So if we were concerned about Duke Johnson not being here, I'm not saying we wouldn't be a little bit better off with him than Dontrell Hilliard, but I don't think that explosive a sense. Njoku, who we were hoping would have a breakthrough year, had a break all right, but it was his wrist, not the breakthrough that we were looking for.
But it could have been his neck.
It could have been his neck, right? I mean, it could have been worse. It can always be worse when you're playing football. So these things we look at, and then, the whole goofiness regarding Corbett and not playing, and who was going to play and who wasn't going to play, and Jannard Avery really not getting any reps, and Corbett not getting any reps. That's kind of a surprise. But overall, at 2-2, we can say we could have been better, we could have been worse, but a loss last week would have been really devastating to this team. It would have been a real difficult thing to overcome. Now we go up against an undefeated football team that is an improved football team and is given really a 72.5% chance by the odds of defeating the Cleveland Browns in San Francisco. So we're going from one test to another to another. It's not been an easy beginning part of the season. At the quarter point, let's go to the panel here to get an idea of what you guys think. And we'll start with Brian. 4 games in, what has surprised you positively and negatively?
Oh, by far and away, the depth on the defensive side of the football. The way that they're able to shut opposing offenses down for at least one half of football, and then at critical times they're able to come up with big plays. What I'm unhappy with is the excessive amount of penalties, both for and against the Browns, that the ones against that don't get called. The ones, obviously, we had the 18 penalty game against the Titans that really.
Brian, I mean, you're watching other football games besides the Browns, right?
Yes.
Because do you think there are just too many penalties being called, period, in the NFL right now?
Too many of the they do seem to be. They're calling a lot of penalties, but they're also not calling a bunch more that are just as egregious or just as plain as the ones that they are calling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching a lot of games, and I think the league is becoming over officiated. And the thing that's interesting about it to me is, the league seems to be interested in the same thing Major League Baseball is, with a juice ball, or whether it's giving advantages to the offense. And Kawaki brings up a huge point, that blindside block penalty. I don't get it either. I mean, if a guy got his eyes focused in the backfield because he thinks that's where the play is going. And he runs basically into you. The one we got called for was crazy. I mean, it wasn't like he really pile drove him into the ground or really chicken winged him or anything like that. I mean, if a guy isn't aware of the direction that somebody's coming in, I don't like that penalty either. And these types of things that are really subjective calls by the officiating crew, which makes me nervous as hell, knowing the favoritism that goes on in the league.
Well, let's look at the roughing the passer penalty last night against the son of one of our favorite sons, Clay Matthews Jr. Once again, it changed the complexion of a game because it's not just a penalty. It's another first down. It's 15
That was ridiculous.
yards.
That call was ridiculous.
I mean,
and he's gotten that several times over the last couple of years, where it's the reason he's in Los Angeles instead of still finishing his career as a Green Bay Packer.
Well, again, the problem here is the safety issue or lack of safety issue in the NFL. It's bad publicity, and the NFL is going to do whatever it can do to try to clean its act up and pretend that they're making the game safer. But what they're really doing here, I mean, you can call that blindside block on every misdirection play that is run. Guy runs the wrong way and turns at the last minute in time to disrupt the play a little bit and gets hit. You can call that a blindside block. So that means influence blocking, going the opposite way, or however you want to put it, is kind of in the dumpster. An entire concept of offensive football is being tampered with because of this one kind of penalty. The other thing is that it's these penalties, like we see with OBJ being held, it's really very individualized. I've seen receivers push off and commit what is obviously offensive interference, but if it's a veteran receiver, not getting called for it. If it's a younger, unproven guy, getting flagged for it. And the pace and the tempo of the game, what it's reminding me of is the pitcher going to first base 6 times to keep the runner close in Major League Baseball. It's a deterrent to fan interest. And these constant flags, and now there's more ways to challenge, even though this whole interference challenge, any head coach would be crazy to do it because it's just pissing away a challenge.
And a timeout. A crucial timeout.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing that's stupid about it is it slows the game down. There is nothing exciting about the prospect of them having a 99.99% keeping the call the same way it is, because you're not going to overturn an interference penalty. And you can bet that the first overturn of an interference penalty will go in favor of the New England Patriots. It's not good for the sport. It's not good for fan interest. And the more that you put the hanky in the referee's hands, the more people are like me, who are cynics, are going to question whether games are really being decided by who the better team is or who the league wants to win. And
and teams like the Browns are basically facing 2 opponents. They have the opposing team, and then they also have to deal with the officiating.
It's a problem. And, it's a lot like the one thing that Brian and I would agree with, and that would be government interference in our daily lives. Referee interference in the progress of a game is not exactly what fans want to see. Now, Jake, quarter of the way through the season,
Jake had to let the dog out.
Who let the dogs out?
Jake did.
All right.
Apparently, Jake did. So he'll be right back.
All right, good.
Again, I told him it's better than go ahead and let the dog out, because otherwise you're going to end up sitting in the puddle, and that's never any fun.
No, that's true, especially if he has electrical devices anywhere nearby. That would not be good. To be 2-2 is, you can say it's kiss your sister, but I'm really thrilled. 2-2 overall for as bad a start as we got off to, and the lack of familiarity. We're starting to see something starting to gel. My feeling is, if I were to give the overall State of the Union address of the for the Cleveland Browns, it would be pretty simple. It would be, we're kind of 2 players short of a full load. I think we're very pleased about what we have in the defensive secondary and the depth that we have in our defensive line. I think we can be very happy with that. I think we're relieved, even without Christian Kirksey, that Mac Wilson has stepped in and that Schobert is playing as well as he's playing. But the offensive line is not good enough for this team at 2 pivotal positions, the 2 pieces that we're missing at the left tackle and the right guard. It's a problem. And I don't think Hubbard is the answer. And Cush is definitely. I mean, Cush is a major, major, major problem. And I think that's what's going to be the deterrent for our football team to really either A, get into the playoffs, or B, make any kind of a deeper run in the playoffs, because you just need to have that working for you. And I know there's unfamiliarity and we looked better in the last week, but still, some of our offensive linemen are really slow of foot, not athletic enough to be able to handle some of the pass rushers. And we've been facing some really good ones so far this year. We're going to face another really good one on Monday in Joey Bosa. And I think that we're going to face a line in general that I think is being pimped of having 5 or 6 first-round picks in it. So this is going to be a challenge for our offensive line.
And to me, this is where not having a fullback really comes into play when you need added protection near Baker Mayfield. Not just to use him as the safety valve, but to have that guy 245 pounds who can really chip the hell out of the defensive end, or an outside linebacker, or pick up the blitz and really stuff them without putting the star running back Chubb at risk.
One of the problems that I see as far as the Cleveland Browns are concerned, the tight end position, where we're finally seeing Seals Jones at least showing some athletic ability as a receiver, is that Demetrius Harris just hasn't been able to cut it on the blocking end or the receiving end. Njoku going down for injury. We've had a lot of problems physically in the first 4 games of the year. Our 2 primary coverage defensive backs injured. We've thank God Jarvis Landry is off the concussion protocol, and he's out of there and he's going to play. We're getting Callaway back, who we haven't had for the first 4 weeks. We've had to live with Damian Ratley, or some odd facsimile thereof, playing, and it's been difficult to get all of the pieces of the puzzle put together. Glad you're back with us, Jake. We'll go to you now. 2-2 at the quarter poll. What's good? What's not so good?
Well, I'm shocked that we didn't know, or the team didn't know, how bad the O-line could be. So management might have messed up there. But we have amazing depth at corner and safety, so that's a good sign. And I'm glad we're getting Callaway back, because that can kind of maybe negate Higgins' absence, but it's going to be tough because I don't think he has a chemistry. Overall, I mean, it's a new offense, and I don't think it's that surprising looking back. I think the hype that some people had kind of overblew that almost meteoric rise they wanted to have, and it kind of just managed itself to, we're a 2-2 team figuring it out, and hopefully we have an easy schedule late in the year to make a run.
The Rashard Higgins story becomes curiouser and curiouser.
He
was on the field practicing. Am I correct?
Yes, today.
Yeah.
Yesterday?
Today.
So I was doing an Abbott and Costello. Yes, today. You mean yesterday?
No.
No. Okay. It was. Forget
Who's
it.
on the 40-yard line?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
I was doing Lou Costello, and it wasn't very effective. What are you hearing, Jake? I mean, he practiced, but there is.
Well, it was 8 weeks, right? And he's practicing. So
it's what?
It was like 6 to 8 weeks with that ankle automatically, and he's practicing, but he's not.
It's not his ankle.
Yeah, I know. That's weird. It was an ankle sprain.
But you see, I don't believe it ever was. I believe it was an MCL sprain, and I don't have evidence of it. But the only reason that you'd be running in a straight line, all right, which he was doing previously, but not fully practicing, is because
change direction.
The collateral ligament is not fully healed. Now, but why is he out there practicing? This is a mystery to me.
I mean, this might be he's not on IR, but it might be that length of an injury. And I'm just glad we have Callaway back, because even if he's not the most disciplined guy, he's a deep threat to do something to help spread the offense.
Well, Higgins is not on the IR, is he?
No, but I mean, this is getting to the point where it's not looking great.
Well, Freddie Kitchens was talking today, and they asked him, is Higgins going to play? And he goes, I'm not going to get into all that. But he was more than happy to tell us that Landry was back and was probably going to be in there playing. And that Callaway lacks maybe a little bit. I think the way he put it was endurance. He's, he's got his quicks, but the play after play thing, you're going to see him.
He's a Mercedes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, you're going to see him spot duty. He's not going to get a lot of snaps, but they're going to try to make the snaps count that he's on the field, I think is what Freddie is saying. Yeah. But
I'm not saying he's Andrew Luck, but it's very similar to the Andrew Luck was lower ankle, upper ankle, knee, and he just gave up on the rehab. It's looking similar to they just don't know what it is. It might be just a leg injury that takes a minute.
Well, I mean, usually when a guy has an ankle/knee, he's not on the field running regular patterns. Yeah. And so I'm really baffled about this whole thing. And the fact that Freddie's not willing to commit whether he's going to play or not, I don't know. It's funny because the headlines were saying that Higgins was back. But then when you read the article, it was like, well, no, he's not, because they're not committing to him playing. But really negative on Greedy and Ward again, as if it's Friday and they're still day to day, they're not. I don't think they're, after the last 2 weeks, I don't think they're going to jeopardize the health to make something chronic and put these guys out on the field. And nor do I think Higgins will be on the field. But I don't understand.
Well, this is a similar thing to the 49ers, honestly, because they have their running back and their best corner out, and it's automatically going to help the Browns initially, but we don't know how long that injury is. It's knee and ankle. It's a very similar, almost a vague description on the report where you don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, so now, we turn to Monday, and we're on the road. We're against an undefeated team, and San Francisco's defense is third in yards allowed, a 79.1 grade, has a sixth best DVOA of negative 19.9%. This is all of you stats geeks, but this is statistically the best defense that we've played against. And it's going to create potential issues. Let me explain what the Browns have to do. And we said this last week, and for once they were able to do it. When you've got, Nick Bosa as the second best edge rusher behind Khalil Mack, and I think everyone would agree, whether it's PFF grades or just the eye test, that Khalil Mack is the gold standard. But Nick Bosa is just that good. All right. I'm sorry if I said Joey Bosa earlier. I got Bosa's on my mind. D Ford, has had a great start. And of course, Richard Sherman is still maybe not the Richard Sherman that he was, but he's still a pretty respectable island cornerback. You got to run the ball at Bosa. And I know it sounds crazy, but if he's going to be froggy and jumping around, wanting to get into our backfield, wanting to get to Baker Mayfield, the easiest way to calm down a pass rush is with a running game. The easiest way to make play action reliable is with a running game. And you know that the 49ers are going to do everything they can to stop Nick Chubb after the explosion from last week. This winds up pretty simple to me. If Baker Mayfield is forced to throw the 45 to 50 times again, he's going to be in deep shit. And he didn't have to do that last week, and it made all the difference in the world. How do you guys think that you run the ball against this 49er offense? Jake, you first.
Well, their inside line isn't great, and Chubb's really not the best outside runner. I mean, he can get up to speed, but he made his money in the NFL by being a great power back at Georgia. And I think the inside of their line is weak. So if they're going to run the ball, it will definitely be at that point of the line.
I mean,
and they should run the ball, obviously. I mean, I'm not saying.
Yeah, here's another thing, and I we'll go to Brian.
But the two big runs, Jake, came off of the pulling of J.C. Treader and Joel Bitonio, the 18-yarder and then the 88-yarder. So that's a 106.
Yeah, well, 80. Yeah, they had two big runs. Yeah, 88 was one.
It's 106 yards between the two runs. Yeah, I mean, and that direction was there twice. The play
and
call,
it was the same formation and the same pull.
And I think we can make an argument that it may have been the same basic kind of set that sprung the 93-yard run last year. Also from deep in territory off the right side of the line. And
J.C. Treader said that was one of the plays that he picked that he gave Freddie as far as running plays when he came and asked him, well, what two running plays do you like to run? That was one of them.
I mean, let's take this for what it is. You have a great pass rusher in Bosa. And you've got a guy like Callaway coming off of a 4-game suspension and an ankle injury. I want to see some outside throws quickly. And I don't mean little out patterns. I mean bubble screens and things. Let them wear themselves out thinking they're going to get to the quarterback, and let our speed merchant in the plays that he is able to play have a little open field or broken field opportunity in front of them. I think the way you tire out a defense, besides maintaining possession of the football, is rather than, I mean, if you can run over them, God bless you. I mean, that's the best of all possible worlds. But you can also let them leak in thinking that they're getting to the quarterback and use energy and kind of waste them by going quickly to the outside to guys who can run after the catch. And here's the deal with San Francisco. They've beaten the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who one week looked like they could slay Goliath, and the next week they look like they're out stealing crab legs at the local market. Andy Dalton doesn't look like he could lead, a horse to water, let alone make him drink. And Roethlisberger not being with the Steelers, I mean, you can say that Mason Rudolph may not be a great example, except when they're playing the Andy Dalton-led Bengals, a real threat to score big-time points.
Well, and on a short week, I think, wasn't it? Or was that the Monday
The
night
Steelers, that was the week that the Steelers had to change its offense because Roethlisberger got hurt. So, I mean, then the 49ers had a bye. So, I guess the way that I look at this is we don't know just how good the San Francisco defense is because Tampa Bay is not consistent. The Bengals are horrible. And the Steelers, without Roethlisberger, lack big play capabilities. All right. But the thing is, when you look at the tape and the film on some of these games, Dalton and Rudolph missed wide open opportunities because, well, they're not exactly the best quarterbacks in the game. Mason Rudolph missed a tight end, Vance McDonald, wide open on a wheel route. I mean, that would have been a big play against them. And he made a big play, a bomb against them. And I'm trying to remember which receiver caught that pass where the Steelers went deep on the 49ers. It isn't that, they're unbeatable. It's that they haven't had the toughest schedule so far. And I think our offense, if it's gelling as we hope it is by far going to be the toughest offense that they will have faced to date. So there's going to be some things that have to be proven. The Browns have to prove that they really are gotten better, and the 49ers have to prove that they can really stop a fine-tuned offense if that's what the Browns present on Monday night. Sherman has been targeted 15 times this year. 10 out of 15 complete. That would be the Richard Sherman of years past. Ahkello Witherspoon, the other guy, of the 20 targets, only 6 were completed against him. So there's been more success throwing at Richard Sherman than Witherspoon, which is really interesting. I mean, just from a statistical perspective. When you're coming back from Achilles surgery at 31 years of age, the question is, who's Sherman going to be covering? And is he going to be covering, because of his name, covering OBJ? And we haven't heard boo from Joe Hayden since he left the Browns, because when you reach a certain age at that position and there are guys running 4.2, 4.3, and 4.4 40s, it's not easy to keep up with them, especially if you're on an island. As a tackler, by the way, Sherman only 50.2. And it's one of the reasons why, if they line up Sherman on OBJ, I want to see some quick outside passes. I want to see if that 50.2 PFF rating in tackling for Sherman misses open field tackle and gives OBJ open yardage in front of him, because we saw what OBJ can do in yards after catch.
Well, and the thing with Sherman is he only plays a side of the defense. He doesn't play man-to-man. He won't take one player, and that's his player for the entire game, like Humphrey did.
I mean,
you can rotate Callaway or Higgins or whoever and put Beckham on the other cornerback.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there were multiple examples. Guy like Deontay Johnson, who was a receiver for the Steelers. I mean, he was outrunning Richard Sherman on the field. I mean, speed is an issue, and you want to exploit the open field against this guy. You don't want to run patterns where you're running close to the sidelines. You want to force enough space between Richard Sherman and his man that he'll have an opportunity to lunge and miss, because it's been happening fairly regularly through the first 3 games that they've played. What's happening is that they're playing a cover 3 a lot in order to mask or hide the lack of speed that this guy has at 31 years of age. So, it's the question here to me is, you go directly at their strength and run the ball at them, but I also want quick passes. I believe that, and I have not said this year, but I have a feeling there is going to be a couple of big, long passes that the Browns are going to hit on this week. And I think in order to set it up, you've got to go quick initially and lull them into or out of cover 3 kinds of coverages. As long as you're 3rd and long, they're going to be comfortable in cover 3, and that's going to be hard in a disguise zone sense for Baker to find the people that he's looking for. Even the Bengals found some openings in that cover 3 scheme. So, I mean, and there was a wheel route that was run by Tyler Boyd in that game that was open. And I'm sure that the Browns have looked at the film and said, this team might be susceptible to a wheel route. Who do you have who can run that wheel route? And the answer is Ricky Seals-Jones. Because you're not going to buy a wheel route from OBJ because you're going to always be looking for him to beat you deep. But a tight end, yeah, just like the long forming play across the middle from last week, you can get suckered into that real quick, make a quick move to the sideline, then up the field. He's got enough speed to beat somebody, a linebacker specifically, or a slower defensive back. Jason Verrett, who is, the other cornerback, doesn't play much, but his nickname is Toast, all right? We've seen him play in Cleveland under different names and uniform numbers. He does not cover well. So it's really up to, Sherman and Witherspoon to get the job done. If one of those guys goes down, hurt for any reason, God only knows. Or Cod only knows too, the great fish in the sky. Because Verrett is not an NFL cornerback. It's never simple. It's never easy. But to me, I'm almost more excited about the prospect of throwing short passes along with the running game to open up a couple of opportunities down the field. Brian, who do you want to see in the ball with their hands on the ball in an open field situation for the Browns right now?
Well, it would have to be either Landry or Beckham, but Ricky Seals-Jones, he had 3 or 4 big plays.
Is this the week that Dontrell Hilliard becomes a factor, Jake? Because if they're really looking at Chubb and Chubb is not on the field in a given play, and we have an extra receiver in the pattern, is that going to hurt the 49ers?
Well, they do like the pressure. And I think if it comes down to it, they can get that ball to Hilliard pretty quick. And he is great on the screen. I think he's better than Chubb at catching the ball as well. So, yeah, that's a big move to make because I think Hilliard is a weapon. And I know you didn't love him to begin with because he doesn't run great between the tackles. But I think in clear passing downs, he is a better weapon than Chubb is.
Well, here's the deal. I don't want him just in must-passing situations. I want to put them in a situation where they have to look out for him on first and second down occasionally. I want opportunities to exploit the width of the football field because the way that you exploit the length of the field is by exploiting the width of it. And, he is one guy that has been underused. And he can make the first guy miss. He's not going to break anything for big business, but he can make the first guy miss. So, I
mean, ideally, first and second, you have Chubb in there, right? And you're in a manageable position to keep a run pass balance. But yeah, and I mean, I think in that situation, you want Chubb regardless. I mean, that's one of those give your, I guess, number one back and future back the ball.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is they're going to be geared for Chubb. This is not going to surprise anybody. And
back gets through everything, right? A good back can make up for it. It doesn't matter if you game plan for him.
Well, here's the thing. There are plays that we run better than others. Freddie knows what they are. The offensive line knows what they are. Some of the plays that we gave the ball to earlier in the season with Chubb, there was nothing there. And as Brian pointed out earlier, the outside sweep seemed to be a little bit more favorable than the inside runs, which were really not getting any kind of daylight for him to get going. The thing about a sweep, if you go back all the way to Jim Brown, is that it's easy for a locomotive to pick up speed that way. And
you need that threat of the 3-yard gain on the inside to even make the sweep work. I wanted to pound the ball on the inside to make him think.
I wanted to quote Freddie Kitchens here. They asked if Antonio Callaway and Rashard Higgins, how they were doing. He goes, I think both are coming along, and Callaway looks good. On if Higgins will return this week. I could not even start to answer that yet. Yet it's Friday. Doesn't Friday come after Thursday, but is before Saturday?
And at that point, your lineup should be set up because you have to send it to the league. So you should know who's there and who's ready.
I think it's 2 days before Sunday, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and the roster's out there, the depth chart's out there, so we kind of know.
The Rebecca Black pregame conference.
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday.
She'll never live that down.
No matter how. When she's 82 years old, she's gonna have to answer for that shit.
Wasn't even her fault either. Some producer put it up to her.
The implication, he's good where Callaway is right now with his ankle and all that, but obviously not so good. They asked him about all the Browns wide receivers finally practicing together for the first time this season.
Well,
he says
-1, but yeah.
He goes, it's always nice to get 2 of your guys back, but I think those other guys have filled in and done well. We have the luxury of having several guys that can play. Definitely, it is good having Antonio and Hig as close as we are to having Hig back. He ain't playing this week.
No.
He ain't gonna play. So,
And why waste a spot of practice with him at that point when I hate to say it, but I mean, you might have another week of Ratley. So.
Well, I'm looking on the team page and the Browns say that Higgins had limited practice the last 2 days. So he probably just did some individual drills, and that was it.
All right. I mean, yeah, if he wasn't out on the field running patterns, that's fine. I mean, I will tell you that if it's an MCL sprain, I had one. Believe me, if there's an injury, playing tennis, I've had it in the lower extremities. Say what?
You're frozen, Jake. So if you're trying to show me something, I'm not seeing it.
I hope he's not showing you that. Oh, goodness. Yeah, he has frozen. Hey, it's another Zoom situation.
Well, at least you know you're not the only one.
Yeah. I'm not the only one. All I want to do is freeze up on camera until the sun goes down on Santa Monica Boulevard. So I guess what it comes down to is we're not going to have Higgins, but we're going to have Callaway probably I'm thinking Callaway will be on the field maybe for 20 odd snaps. Nothing really more than that, I don't think. So, and Freddie was also saying that, officials have a tough job because holding is something that you could probably call on every play, and coaches are bitching about it. I know we are. So hopefully they'll allow Odell Beckham to have a fair game and have an opportunity to make a difference for this team. Hopefully. 47 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. Do you guys think, and I don't know, is Jake still frozen?
He is out of the panel right now, probably trying to get back in.
Yeah. Brian, do you think the offense is gelled, or was last week maybe a little wishful thinking?
No, I think that they're getting Freddie is finally getting back to what he had last year as far as play calling and comfort level with among the players. So I going into this game, I know we're probably going to do our predictions later, but to me, I think that the Browns can actually come out with a win like 24-16. I think they're going to be able to do enough stuff against the 49ers. And I would look for another big long run, probably of over 60 yards from Nick Chubb.
Is everything okay on the program right now?
Is everything okay? Yeah.
Everything looks fine to me and sounds fine.
All right. Because
over on the YouTube side. So
we're okay there. All right. I wanted to make sure. Yeah. Because it just minimized in a way I've never seen it on my screen before, but we're back. That was really very strange. I hope it doesn't.
Okay. Can I respond to Coded here? He's asking if is Baker that insecure he needs to respond to every single person who criticized him. Well, you know what? You can only take so much horse shit from fucktards who barely can tie their own fucking shoes. Rex Ryan, who only got to the position he's in because of nepotism. He doesn't know diddly goddamn shit. His daddy was the brains of the fucking operation, and now daddy is dead. So guess what happens to Mushroom Head? Do you see fucking Rob Ryan running around anywhere in his boat anchor fucking jackets? No, you don't.
I don't see
Baker
Buddy
wants
Ryan.
to
I don't
fucking
see
respond
Buddy
to
Ryan
some
running
chicken
around
fucker,
either.
let him do it. He's a grown-ass man, and he's not going to take shit from fucking nobody. And if you don't like it, go fucking boost yourself in the fucking toilet until you stop fucking breathing, okay?
Those
Rant
are the
over.
opinions of panelist Brian. He responded, what silences critics more than words wins in the score column. And, this goes on forever and ever, but, everyone's entitled to their opinion. And I think Baker likes to use this as incentive. All right. And I think the reason he focuses in on it is because of that. I don't think it's anything really more than that. I think it just helps him get focused on shit. That's what I think. Grunge 2009 says he thinks it's going to be a defensive game and a nail biter until the end. And, I'm not sure what I think yet. I'm not going to divulge it until Monday anyway. Pat Seagramson, how you doing, Pat? Ron Shane, how are you guys doing? Pat saying that Hilliard is good an option in the red zone unless they use him as a fullback or an extra blocker. The thing is, Hilliard is really more of a pass catcher out of the backfield. He's just not going to be not able to stand anybody up on a blitz, as a pass protector and as a, to run
he does have goal line touchdowns though. So before you go there, he does have goal line touchdowns. So.
He had one touchdown from the goal line, and that was when the
he got the first touchdown against the Titans.
I don't even remember. Did we score a touchdown against the Titans?
Yeah, and then the Cyber came out and blew the extra point
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
and sucked all the air out of the balloon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, you want to have Nick Chubb on the field. He's a bigger back and he can bounce it outside, and he's faster than Hilliard. You know, but at any rate, if Colin Cowherd was a rack of short ribs, would Baker eat him? Well, that's too easy.
Well, then I'll go ahead and just say it. Colin Cowherd is the one that gave fucking Sam Darnold mono. You know how? By sucking his fucking dick.
Is that how you get mono?
Genital warts, mono. That's all the same thing, man.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to reanalyze my lifestyle. Damn, that just put a blanket, it's like a wet blanket over Mr.
Well, you know,
Moohead.
Michael Douglas is the one that said that oral sex is the thing that gave him throat cancer. So there you go. Lick vaginas at your own risk, gentlemen.
I thought it was Kirk Douglas. I'm not going to make jokes at the expense of a 102-year-old man. Do you know that Kirk Douglas is 102 years old? I mean, that's amazing. And he still, from what I understand, has all of his marbles.
Yes.
But a blowjob wouldn't help him at this point. 102, it would take a crane to get Kirk Douglas up. But
Jake is back.
Jake is back. All
Yeah,
right.
he needs to be promoted to panelist.
Back again.
All right, let me put him in here for the final minutes of the show. I'm glad he's back. All right, Jake, here you come.
Here he comes again.
I'm not even going to touch that with a 10-foot pole based on genital warts and what? Ugh. All right, there you go, Jake. You're back with us, part of the living.
Yeah.
What
I got
happened?
censored. I was censored. It's cool. No,
Censored by whom? Not by me.
it just sucks. So yeah, it crashed on me. It's
Oh.
cool.
I thought you were using Brian's old computer.
Yeah. Been a rough day at this house.
All right, but you can't leave me in suspense. You said, here you go, Rock. So what were you trying to show me?
Oh, well, I thought it all froze, and I thought it was Moo for a second, but no, it was me. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
know-
I was giving me the opportunity to run amok again. I see.
I was trying. I was clearly trying to. It just didn't work out. Yeah.
You know,
It was-
Rox asked you a
My
question.
dumb fucking- yeah. Sorry.
Rox asked you a question in the chat. Did you see the question she asked?
Oh, about pets.
Yeah, about that and about the length of your dick, but I didn't want to bring that up.
Oh,
I
I
wanted
don't see
to.
that. I am looking, but
Neither did she. She didn't see it either. So
Wow.
forget it. It was too easy, and it went. Whoop.
almost offended. Yeah.
No, but how could you tell seriously that your pet was suffering from dementia?
Oh well, we went to the vet and we're like, the dog's up at like 3 a.m. barking at the same wall, and whenever it sees a shadow, it freaks out. And they're like, how old's the dog? Like 14. Okay, yeah, that's probably means the dog's old, half blind, and forgets basic functions. So, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things.
Well, that's too bad. It's interesting. I was wondering how they diagnosed that, and she was too. How they diagnosed that in a pet compared to,
Yeah,
That
it's
was
just
a
one of those
person.
things where the dog doesn't understand it can jump on couches anymore because it sees a shadow, and it gets kind of freaked out by little things it doesn't usually have effect with. But yeah, I mean, the dog's 15, so
I wanted to
it's
share.
barking right now, actually, out right in the corner. So trying to lower my mic so it doesn't happen. But yeah.
I wanted to point out the definition of misery before we get out of here today. Browns fans, we share a unique bond as far as the misery that we've experienced over the past God knows how long. And if you said Jay Gruden to any, or Daniel Snyder, or any of it to any, Washington Redskins fan, they would commiserate with you. The thing is that why is it that Colt McCoy always appears in these misery situations? The Redskins are going to start Colt McCoy over Dwayne Haskins and Case Keenum. Case Keenum played himself basically off the team. Haskins obviously is a rookie, and if you put the ball in his hands, you're going to accept the fact that mistakes are going to be made, and he's got a far better arm than McCoy getting the ball down the field, but lacks some of the critical field reading and judgment qualities. But the Redskins
I have an idea on this.
I do. Say what?
I have an idea on this.
Okay.
Okay, when Keenum was struggling, he was on the other side laughing with linebackers and just chuckling off like at halftime about, I don't know what he was saying, but probably thinking, this guy's trash, I'll play. When Keenum was playing decent, he was talking to the cornerbacks and receivers and joking around and not talking to the coaches. So he seems like he's just waiting for his chance to start taking it seriously.
I mean, do you really think Haskins is going to be a big-time NFL quarterback, guys?
I don't know.
I think on a better in a better situation, yes.
But he
If
was
you put him on
laughing.
if you put him on Jacksonville or you put him on Indianapolis, yeah, I think he would have a lot more success.
But no, he was seriously laughing when Keenum threw a pick. So it's one of those things where I listen to the Pat McAfee show a lot, and he ripped him apart for it. But he's laughing when his teammates are failing. And I get it's the guy he's trying to beat in a competition, but at the same time, he's not talking to the coaches. He's not dealing in the quarterback room with the starter. There's no, ethical teamwork there. At some point you have to just own up and say you're a backup and do your job and wait for your chance.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Giants had so many needs, and to draft Haskins at 15,
Redskins?
The Redskins, yeah. To me, it's really a shame. I mean, ever since Daniel Snyder showed up, the Redskins, it gets worse and worse. And I'm sure that Haskins will be on the field because McCoy's going to get a concussion. This is the way it always ends. Colt McCoy,
or break both of his legs again, or both bones in his leg again.
He's gonna, be part of a shit situation. He's gonna get sacked. He's gonna come out of the game with a concussion, and Haskins is gonna wind up in anyway. The problem is when you put a rookie quarterback in and yank him right away, it doesn't send the best message. And I don't know much about Haskins personally, what kind of a guy he is, but it's unusual not to have put McCoy in the game after you pulled Case Keenum, instead putting Haskins in. And you know what you have in McCoy. And if you wanted to spare the young man, the rookie, you wouldn't have put him in. But by putting him in and pulling him,
I have a feeling that call came from upstairs. I don't think that was a Jay Gruden call. I think that was a call from upstairs.
I don't know, but
yeah, he has shown a maturity in that. He has definitely just laughed off interceptions and messed with the cornerbacks and joked around when his team was failing. I don't know. I think it's just a maturity issue with him. I think he expects to be the starter sooner than later. So
here's one last thing before we go. Here's what Jay Gruden said, and it really makes you wonder, because this is the kind of crap we heard in Cleveland all the time. I knew it a long time ago. It's going to be Colt, and we'll go from there, Gruden said. It's his 6th year in the system, and the other guys just got here in the offseason. Well, doesn't that mean there's something wrong with the system? If this is the 6th year of the system, and you're 0-4, I start questioning the system and not the players who are playing it. It's amazing to think that anything in today's topsy-turvy sports world would last 6 years in this kind of abysmal failure like the Redskins. It's amazing. You know, the problem with Haskins is what we saw in the preseason. 3 interceptions out of 17 passes. It doesn't cut it. He seems to want to go down the field too much and not take what's right in front of him. You know. Yeah. Haskins and Gruden, the press is building something up between these two men. They're saying that Gruden did not want to draft him. Probably the meddler, Daniel Snyder, wanted it, and so it got done. I guarantee you that Jay Gruden will not be the coach next year in Washington. I guarantee you that. No way that's going to happen. So, at any rate, we were going to come back on Monday to talk about the predictions and the game in a little bit more detail. So save your predictions, panel. Hopefully Rick will be back with us then. And I'm going to chill out, man. I'm going to watch Sunday football without any pressure of wondering what's going to happen with the Browns and all of that. And Ohio State plays a pretty big game, don't they? So I think that watching Ohio State might not be bad tomorrow. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Tomorrow's their first big test against Michigan State. So
That's right. And, you know, I know that Fields has done very well so far. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. He's been very, very good. Derek was yapping at me saying how great he looks, and he has looked really good. So we'll see as the competition level steps up a little bit, how he plays bigger games against a little bit bigger competition. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to this edition of Moohead Radio. Like I said, back again on Monday for 3 big shows. The pregame at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, the halftime show. But then I guess it'll only be 2 because I'm not doing the third one. Not doing a postgame show after Monday Night Football. The last time I did that, I did not sleep at night. I was too agitated after doing the program, and it was no good. And to Amsterdam, I'm not a Jewish Conway Twitty, all right? I don't know where in the hell that comes from. You put a little bit of process in your hair, and the next thing you know, people are accusing you of being an old-time country star.
No, that's what happens when you mix your PCP with your marijuana.
I see. I'm not an Okie from Muskogee, and I won't be mistaken for one either. There ain't no Jewish Okies from Muskogee, you know? It's like the only Jewish in Muskogee hanging from trees. They look kind of like that. All right, we'll be back. We'll be back again, I promise you, on Monday with the 6 o'clock pregame show and the halftime show at the half. So thanks for tuning in. We'll be with you real soon. And until next time, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.